And then for tomorrow, a cloudy start, then some sunshine, but warming up to 58 once we get that sun out. And as far as the marathon goes, weekend, the nice day for the marathon.
Boston Marathon went off without a hitch. 27,000 athletes from across the globe came here to start their trek to Boston.
I was working in the emergency department. A lot of our residents and some of our attending doctors actually work the Boston Marathon. One of them called, and she said, I think something happened down here. There was an explosion or something, and we might get a few. And the next thing I know, the radio's going off. We go into this disaster mode. Been to a lot of disasters, like in Iran and Haiti and different places like that. I've never seen anything like this.
All these clinicians running down the hall, looking at their pagers while they were running, all towards the emergency room, and thought, well, that's really strange. Our triage nurse came and said there's been a bomb go off at the marathon, and then a second bomb went off. The only way to describe it was very surreal.
This was something that you could not forget. You just couldn't get it out of your mind. There were so many people and so many horrific injuries. It's just like nothing I'd ever seen before. Every time there's a disaster around the country, we always will make something, buy something, send something to wherever that site is. We feel like they are community to us, they're family to us, because we know what that feels like. We've been through that. We just want to show that someone's thinking of them and that we're connected to them and that they're not alone in this experience.
The event was over. Police had dispersed it officially, and they were in the process of separating various and sundry folks. And so we were all on the cusp of sort of a general whew. Stood there watching the monitor and saw the gentleman flipping up in the air as the car plowed through the crowd.
Everybody was just running around. There was a lot of confusion at some point because we had never had this before. And I started seeing all the patients that were passing out, a lot of the patients that were with traumas that just came into the door and just straight through the trauma rooms.
We didn't know who was who. We had no idea, and we didn't frankly care. Our job was to take care of the patient before us, and again, our team stepped up and did that beautifully. It got more complicated afterwards. Now we don't know if we've got people on different sides in one room or in the same hallway, and trying to make sure that we didn't have altercations ensue inside of the rooms. That day, pizza showed up in the ED for us. He just brought us pizzas. Sorry. He's a restaurateur. He said, this is what I can do for those of you who are helping those who need it the most. Simple acts of compassion have a huge impact. My residents were fantastic that day. It was one of the proudest moments I've had as a physician, to be honest, and that includes being involved in 9/11 directly as a caregiver. The feelings that I personally experienced immediately after, in particular, were feelings of being attacked, feelings of sort of the most fundamental insecurity, and at the same time trying to take care of patients.
I think it's something that is gonna take time, not only for the people who have experienced the traumatic event, but also for those who have inflicted them.
Knowing that feeling of what's the next thing is going to happen is real. It's a group PTSD. It isn't just the individuals. And so you end up in part of where I think the work that we're still working on here at UVA, and I imagine other places that have experienced similar events, is to do that work together so that we're not on islands.
It just started off as a great night. We had a great crew on. Everything seemed super, super normal. The phone was ringing so much, and so I picked it up, and it was Aurora Dispatch asking us how many critical patients we could take.
Usually someone comes in, they come in with an ambulance crew, and they say, okay, these are the injuries, this is what we've done, this is what happened. In this instance, it's not. Someone's pulling up to your ambulance bay, your doors are opening, and you have zero idea what to expect. And I think that adds another element of sort of fear, because what if you're missing something?
A police officer actually handed me a teenager, and she was shot several times, but she kept crying for her mother, and I'm a mother. I really felt like in that moment I had to be her mom.
I had a moment in the hallway where I broke down, and I remember a janitor came up to me and was like, are you okay? And I felt in that moment like I didn't know, because I hadn't had any time to process it. I didn't know where to go with those feelings, and it just felt so incredibly overwhelming. Nothing in life can prepare you for what you see when such a mass casualty happens.
I was not at all prepared for what we saw and heard and felt that night. On the anniversary of that, every single year, even if I don't necessarily remember, oh, it's July 20th, my body remembers, and I feel like anxious. I just went to the movies with my two girls this last week, and a man walked in, and he was by himself, and I didn't even watch the movie, I watched that man the entire movie.
But the most poignant for me is the fact that it was a movie theater with the movie that was showing was a Batman movie. It's a children's hospital, and so there's a lot of different characters that kids really relate to, and Batman's one of them. So people wear a lot of Batman stuff. Kids talk about Batman, and it's something that I've had to learn to deal with because I can't separate it. Those images, they will forever be in your head. You can't get rid of them.
When Newtown happened, we did send cards. That was great. That felt really good. It felt like almost a sister and brotherhood. Like, we feel you. We don't know you, and we'll probably never meet, but we're praying for you. We're thinking about you.
Initially, there was a lot of people not being actually sure of what was going on. As some facts became more apparent, people then started to mobilize themselves and get themselves to the emergency department and prepare for what might be to come, and expecting that potentially hundreds of people are going to show up. You always want more patients to come, and you want more people to survive. Everybody was really quiet, dealing with the patients that came in and realizing nobody else was coming. Everybody here knew they did what they could do. It doesn't mean when you talk to some of them that they don't reflect back, and get a little teary-eyed about what they had to do.
When you're trained to do something and something really bad happens that you have some expertise in being able to provide aid and assistance to, and then you're told, no, you can't, there's nothing to do. It's extremely frustrating.
There were people that lost children that work here. There were people that had children in school that day. At that moment, there was one of our ED physicians, his children go to that school. I think everybody felt the emotional hit. I mean, some people openly cried. Other people were very stoic.
Head of psychiatry in Las Vegas called me within a few days of that shooting. We can't predict these things. They're going to happen again, and we need to be available to others when something like this happens to help lend some wisdom and support to them.
We got notes and cards and support and food from emergency departments from all over the United States. And when other tragedies happen in the United States now, we send cards to them. So we're supporting each other. A lot of people felt exposed, like this could happen in our backyard. And it did happen in the backyard of this hospital. And if that could happen in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, what else is going to happen? What do we have to do to prepare for the next thing? I mean, we hope it never comes, but if there is a next thing, we have to be able to take care of patients.